Hello, my name is Wesley Varghese.
And I'm Brandon Hoyt, and our mentor is Dr. Rashad. Thank you, Dr. Rashad, for your input for our presentation. It was very helpful. Today we're going to tell you about...
Our project's called Phoenix Eye. So we're using citizen science to study bird life. And so this is our logo. And so some of the objectives we have with this project, if you want to go back one slide. So we're using citizen science to understand bird life. And then also we want to use a social media application for this project by Cornell called eBird. And so we want to make it more available for all users and birders to be able to use. So what is citizen science? So defined by SciStarter, it is called the public involvement in inquiry and discovery of new scientific knowledge. And so some examples of citizen science would be folded void crushers, which is a group of gamers who studied protein folding. And then also another citizen science project would be Great Whale Count, which is tourists who go on like bird or whale watching projects, and scientists analyze the pictures and analyze whale migration and identifying different whales. And then the one we're working on currently is the project by Cornell, which is called eBird. And so what is eBird? Pretty much it's where birders go out in the field, they record species, record numbers and behaviors of different birds, and then they analyze this data to notice where are birds migrating during different seasons.
Now, you'll notice that like we have a group of observers here. They're watching this lovely yellow-crowned night heron. His name is Wilbur. I have that on good authority. And whenever they spy Wilbur, what they do is they create lists, and eBird allows them to enter in details about him, like photographs that you may have. You're able to see if you can tell if it's a male or a female, how old it is, if it's, and believe it or not, there's a difference between being juvenile and being immature, as I'm sure your mother has told you. Or whether it's an adult or an age unknown. You can also add breeding code data. For instance, if you observe a yellow-crowned night heron in the act of feeding its young, that's more significant than if you just observe a yellow-crowned night heron acting, calling and displaying on a nesting platform. That's more significant for ornithologists. So they want you to record that.
So the purpose of Phoenix Eye, it's a social networking app for birders to be able to coordinate different birding projects, to share your observations, which it's not easy when you're out in the field. You can't just pull up a website and start typing stuff in. So with an application, we'll be able to make it more convenient for birders, and also it'll be a template for future citizen science projects. So future projects will be able to base their ideas and observations off of what we have created.
So who needs this? Our users are primarily going to be birders themselves. And you see that handsome fellow right there who's making observations? What he's doing is he's observing different birds. As a matter of fact, right there, I can tell you on good authority, having a good authority, that particular fellow right there was studying the nesting hole of a pileated woodpecker, watching it patiently, hopefully seeing a pileated woodpecker come out of a cypress tree. And guys like him, they are all about one thing. Now, whenever you may watch birds, you may not know this, but it's important to have the right gear. And of course, so you get things like hats, you got to read the right literature, you got magazines, you got to have the right books, you got to have bird guides. This is like for going different places, birding in Florida, or Georgia, I should say. You got to have your field tools themselves, like for instance, your binoculars. You're not a real birder without a pair of good binoculars. And you got to have a field guide, because even though we all act like we know what we're looking at, we got to sometimes back ourselves up. But the most important thing, the single most important thing that a bird watcher needs, besides the suntan lotion and this bug spray, is data, a list. The thing that separates a birder from just your normal, your grandma feeds the birds type person is the fact that they meticulously keep lists. They don't just keep lists, they keep yard lists, they keep county lists, they keep state lists, they keep field trip lists, and most significant to the birder, they keep the life list. And what all these lists do is they record the various species of birds and the various times that they saw them, so that they have a record of what's going on. I even got a list right here of birds that I haven't even seen yet. And even this is a printout from eBird that tells you how likely I am, how likely they were to be reported across other birders. So there you have it, you know, all about the lists. Now what the Cornell Laboratory of Ornithology did is they decided that we want all this information from all these birders so that we can study trends. We want to know, where are the birds? Are they moving as a result of climate change? Are they moving as a result of breeding pressure from other birds? Are they expanding their range? Is their range contracting? So this is important in terms of conservation and also in the study of general bird life and behavior. Biologists all over the world. Recently there was an article in eBird about the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. It's based out of Great Britain. It's the premier British ornithological organization. And they took 118 species of birds and organized their data in North America so that you can actually view an interactive map that shows when they migrate. It's the first time a project of this scope has been done. It's really the first time that this much data has been available. And also project designers will be using our project because they'll be able to use what we do as a template for what they want to do.
So how our project works, so pretty much with this application you'll submit your bird observations and to other users of eBird, and then also you can share it with Twitter, Facebook to allow broader access to those who may be looking into this sort of hobby, or maybe even scientists or a biologist or any other sort of field. So you can spread this sort of idea across many platforms.
Our basic timeline for release is we have to choose the technology. We're going to go with probably an Android application first. And from there we'll be able to expand it to mobile-based web or iPhone or something that's even more generic. Then after that we'll declare our initial features, being that we have to decide what's most important. There's several things that eBird does now and it does well. But there's several things that it doesn't do as well. So we have to decide which is most important to the birder to have first. Do they want to be able to submit a list first? Or do they want to be able to see what other birders are doing around them first? Then we'll establish a test group to test our application. There's a large pool of people who are ready right now to see and use something new as far as eBird is concerned. So I don't think we're going to have a problem doing that at all. Then we'll develop our initial features. And we believe that our application will be one where we will create a checklist and submit it on eBird and share it on Twitter. And that'll establish our primary guideline for what is a first release for Phoenix Eye. And then finally, we'll receive feedback for further development and go on from there for our next thing. So for some information that we have, SciStarter, that's a great page for going to find out information about citizen science projects. eBird.org, that's the project site that we're using that hosts the database application and that we'll be leveraging for our purposes. Great Whale Count, if you like whales, it's the place to go to discover what's happening in the world of whale conservation. I read recently where the population of humpback whales is up 6% over the previous year. And part of that was able to be determined via this project right here, this Great Whale Count, anybody doing it. Solve puzzles for science, the folded void crushers guys, they're still active, guys. I guess there's a lot of protein folding to study. And also there's a group of people in there, we took a picture of them, so we want to make sure that we have them. Do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So how would you account the duplication if you are doing counts, for example, say, you know.
The eBird database is actually set up themselves to register who is in a group with you,
Mhm.
and it's just not easy to declare that group. That's the biggest problem that I see with eBird. It's not easy to declare that group. So, for instance, they see that for instance, they may see 5 observers. They're all located in the same place. They're all located at the same time. So the database knows through analysis that they're all looking at the same yellow crown right here, and there's not 5 separate ones. Yes, ma'am.
Usually when you go out into the field, you're usually on the ocean or in the forest. Now, what do you do since if you have the app on your phone and it has to be mobile-based or web-based? What would you do since you most likely won't have any Wi-Fi or any?
Well, there's several different solutions for that. Number one is most birders tend to not bring electronics into the field, although that's changing. This is part of the trend that's changing. Some people are starting to bring their stuff into the field with them, and so the database doesn't need connectivity to be live. It does, however, need to background upload the data as soon as it has a connection. And that's the way our application will work. Is that if you are entering data directly from the field and you don't have a connection, you'll be able to background upload it later. Most people right now, what they do is they keep a little notebook with them right here, and keep track of them and enter in the data later. So, but that's part of what we want to change because that's tedious and it's time consuming. That's personally for me, it's one of the most annoying things about recording your observations. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you can just give an idea what kind of data that you are collecting. Does it include any images or?
Yes, it does. It can include images. It can include, doesn't include Excel spreadsheets. It can include PNGs and JPEGs. And I think GIFs too. GIFs, however you say it. Too, yes.
So does this mean, like, is Cornell basically the one kind of running this whole entire eBird thing so that your app actually goes to Cornell and then they classify the bird? Like, how is the process?
Well, Cornell hosts the database that is used to categorize and classify the data. So you do the individual does the observation. They make a list of everything. Basically they fill out a web form, or there's an API that you can use to submit things directly, and that's what we'll be using. We'll be using the eBird API to upload the data to the database.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Any answers? Anybody want to join me in the field for some hot birding?
That's cool. All right, thank you so much.